Welcome to another episode of the Nintendo Powercast. I'm your host, N64 Josh, and chat is already off the rails. Here we go. Cryptic, what's going on? Has the breaking news. Not gonna read it. You guys will have to go find the message. There is kind of some I don't know about breaking news, but there's a lot to talk about tonight. A lot to talk about. We're going to kind of be a bit all over the place on this one. We're going to be talking Kirby Air Riders Direct. We're going to be talking where the heck is Metroid Prime 4 Beyond? And why isn't it at PAX? What is going on with this game? And how come we're not hearing anything? Also, there's a rumored mainline Direct from Switch Force, who got the last Direct right. So apparently they have some kind of inside source now, and all they said is they tweeted out saying it's what you expected, but it's gonna show up when you least expect it. Something along those. I'm paraphrasing, but something like that. So, Nay coming in hot, just saying trash Direct, trash game. I want my 45 minutes back out of spite. No Metroid. Wow. Okay. Well, Nate, please tell me how you really feel. I noticed Johnny already has a YouTube short out there and a TikTok saying the next Game of the Year contender was just announced today. So he's keeping his trolling alive, which you love to see it. And so yeah, it's a bit of a strange time. This is essentially our holiday game from Nintendo. Player one says, I don't know if 45 minutes was necessary. It sounds like you just said this could have been an email. So before I get into my thoughts on this game, I want to hear from you guys. So let me know in the chat, what did you think of the Direct? I don't know if Nate was being serious. There was not an LOL, so that might have been a real statement, but there also wasn't a period at the end, so I'm not quite sure exactly if he meant it or not. We're gonna have to wait and see. But I do want to hear from you guys. What did you think of this Direct? 45 minutes on essentially a party game. Nate says trash holiday. Okay. Wow. Cryptic says it is weird. On one hand, I would like them to take their time, but the year is already almost over. And I think you're referring to Metroid, I assume. And yeah, that's true. As far as Metroid goes, we'll get into it. I think they've hit a snag. I talked about it yesterday. Joey Pitt says, feels like Mario Kart and Smash Bros. Had a baby, and it's ugly but charming. Interesting. Okay. Joey also says, oh, come on now. Joey also says 70 is a bit of a hike for me. Okay. Player one says not for me. Hope November has other options. Okay, so right off the bat, not a very warm welcome for this game. Now, that being said, not to use the word that's overused too often on this show, although we've slowed a bit, is this game a bit niche? Would you guys say that even Kirby is a bit niche? Based on sales, I would say it leans that way, just a little bit. Nate says I was trying to sound like Twitter, but no, it was okay. But Sonic Cross Worlds is taking up that second spot for my kart racer on my Switch. Fair. Cryptic says, so the same way I went into DK Bonanza Direct, I wasn't hyped, but Sakurai proved me wrong, and I am excited. Felt like it was a Smash Direct with all the content. Okay, so a little bit of positive reception there. And anybody in chat, feel free to put your comments up. I'll get to them. Nate says Kirby is for babies and babies are niche. Fair. That's fair. Is Johnny here? So I have no nostalgia for this game. This feels like a bit of a nostalgia pull. Okay? I got nothing. I got no I've got very little nostalgia for Kirby. I'm talking like Kirby's Dream Land on Game Boy. Outside of that, never played this game or the first one. And so it looks to me like F-Zero meets Kirby. I think the best way I heard it described on X is that don't think about this game like another kart racer or like Mario Kart, but think about it more like a racing slash fighting game, almost like Smash on Wheels. And that I can get behind. The other thing that this kind of reminds me of, and it may be a little bit of a stretch, but just roll with me here, because you're essentially having an auto acceleration, it's almost Temple Run-esque, if you will. It kind of gives me those, like, I have a feeling it's going to be a bit getting used to it, similar to like Xenoblade Chronicles, where you auto attack and you're moving around picking which moves you want to do. So I think there's going to be a bit of a learning curve with this one, just getting used to the fact that you don't have to accelerate. You can brake, you can attack, there's one more extra button, you can jump. And so I think it has that real arcade feel to it that has the potential for being fun, especially on streams. And it's kind of becoming a saying around here, but I think it's going to be really fun with friends. And I don't know how much enjoyment you're going to get out of the single player experience. Jumping back to some of the chats here. Cryptic says, I want to see how everyone's impressions are during Gamescom and PAX. Of course, people will be going hands-on, getting to play it. Joey says, I feel like if it was 50 or 60, I'd be willing to try it, but 70. Have never played an Air Ride or Kirby's Air Ride or Air Riders. I'd either like a demo or the OG on NSO. If I like it, then I'll probably get it. Joey also says, we'll get if no other big interesting game is coming out. And oh, look at this little off topic from Saints says off topic, but after listening to your takes on Madden, I took the plunge and got it. Such a fun port, man. Thanks for all the help. Absolutely. Make sure to jump in the Discord and join our Switch 2 League. You still have time to sign up. Cryptic says, now people who complained about Mario Kart World was too hard they can play Kirby with 2 buttons. Here we go. That's at Cryptic. Nate said, in all seriousness, it looks like it can be fun. I appreciate how much content is packed in the game at that price tag, but I don't like it being the holiday game. Okay. I want to unpack that a little bit. I want to unpack it. I'm going to go back to my thoughts on this game. And I will say during the direct, I had a smile on my face. There are elements of this game that look incredibly fun. I don't know the kind of long tail this game will have in single player. Like I said earlier, I don't know that it's going to have that carrot on the stick. That being said, I do think there's going to be a lot of fun online. What I'm hoping is that the online is good enough that it may be Nintendo's Fall Guys, if you will, where there's a very active community that wants to jump into these 16-player games. They're bite-sized, they're quick, you can have a lot of fun, and then jump into the next one. It looks like they're about 5 minutes in those city trials. And so I'm hoping that is something the community can get behind and we have a lot of fun with it. If it's wide open in that holiday season, there's not going to be a lot more for Switch players to play. There's some other games coming out. There is a demo, you guys, for Daemon Ex Machina. If you want to try that game, the demo is out now. I have to download it tonight. It's 20 gigs. So I will be trying that out. And Cryptic says, I agree with Nate about it being the holiday game. Yep. Yeah, and I do want to unpack it. And I said this to Nate. This could potentially be like a throwaway party game. Like, if you're not playing this with a bunch of people, it's gonna lose its value real quick. I feel like there's always a place for party games. I was hoping for 12 to 24 players. We got 16. It's all going to boil down to that gameplay loop being good enough that collecting those items and doing those little matches against each other, it has to be, it's got to get that dopamine hit. That's what has to happen is the dopamine hit has to be there from this game, or the community will fall off very quickly. I think there will be a niche community that gets very into this and they go deep with it and they have a really good time. I don't doubt that at all. I think that happens in with a lot of games. But I would love for there to be a ton of buzz around this game, for people to be very excited about it, because that little gameplay loop in multiplayer is so good that we don't want to stop playing it. And it would be a great break from Mario Kart or whatever games we're playing. So taking a look at some of the chats here, just real quick. Joey says, wait, 2 buttons, no mouse controls, bummer. They could put Nate, I'm not even reading that. You're so silly. The player one says they should have added camera support. Now maybe they will. Maybe they will. Ashley's saying, why is there no Ninja Gaiden 4, Silent Hill F Requiem for Switch 2? Maybe they'll come later. The Switch is only 2 months old, so Cryptic says, I don't like the inconsistency of how long these directs are. Why was Mario Kart World and DK combined shorter than Kirby? So that's a good question. Good question. Let's see. Risky says, come on, we all know Nintendo let Sakurai make this because they want Sakurai to make Smash for Switch 2. It's basically Nintendo's bribe to Sakurai. That could be. They want him doing it, no doubt. Gardening says, I think it's intentional. Nintendo knows we need our fix and knows they'll raise sales on these lesser loved titles. 2 racing games for what? Interesting. And you've got to remember, I do think Nintendo's being intentional. We're going to talk about release dates and everything here right after we get through with Kirby Air Ride, because it's going to Air Riders, because I think Metroid is somewhat involved with the timing of these releases. I really do. And so Joey says, I think if Metroid date was known or known more about, maybe Kirby wouldn't get the lashing from online. That could possibly be. Cryptic says, how do you feel, Josh, about Xbox bringing Indiana Jones to Switch? Finally, we got a game from them. On top of Indiana Jones, Nate the Hate says Starfield is also coming to Switch 2 and PlayStation 5. And Nate the Hate is usually pretty consistent with his leaks. Grain of salt, as always. How do I feel about it? I mean, it's not the Xbox game that I was hoping for. I would love to see Gears of War, Halo, but I think Microsoft's whole play with Halo is building it in Unreal so that it's scalable and will run on everything right out of the gate. So we just got to be patient for Halo at this point. I don't know if they look at the Master Chief Collection as a big enough pull to get it running on the Switch 2. On top of the fact, with that game having such a terrible start on Xbox, maybe they just want to wash their hands of it and just wait for the next one. That being said, this is a big AAA game on Switch. I think it's good. I might pick it up there just to see how it runs, test it for people like I did with Madden. And so that will be cool to check out. I've heard nothing but great things about that game. And literally the only reason I haven't played it is just time. I have Game Pass. I could play it on there if I wanted to. It's just literally boils down to what games I want to play with the time that I have. That's all it boils down to. I've heard nothing but good things about that one. So Nate says, I think Metroid has a possibility of coming out in December, but they'll kill the sales even more. Wouldn't be surprised if it sells 1.5 to 2 million copies releasing in December though. That's a good point. Hopefully it is sometime during that shopping season. Joey says, honestly though, if Kirby Air Riders is coming back, it gives me hope for Star Fox or Earthbound to make a return. The great point. Would love to see those series make a return as well. Gardening says they needed extra time to convince people to buy it. Are we talking about Kirby or are we talking about the Switch or what? Let me know. Nate says yes for Star Fox, please, Joey. Yes, I'm here for it. Would love it. Serious question. Astrobot says, why is the graphic? Why are the graphics? Why do they look like Switch 1 graphics? And the character models, they do kind of look like Switch 1. I would say that some of the levels look like you can see like particles, more textures. It does have more going on, but you're not the first person to say that, and I understand. Cryptic says, real question, is Josh going to be basic and just race as Kirby? Yes. I don't know. I might channel my inner deity just to pull out the hammer, you know? KY Gardening says they're selling it around Christmas, probably for kids, for sure. Definitely a kids game, going to probably be pretty easy to play with younger ones. That's also something to keep in mind. Like the people, like I know the demographic of the majority of the people listening to this. This is going to be a fun game if you have children. If you've got young ones to play with, it's going to be enjoyable. It's easy, pick up and play, not too confusing. So I think it can be a good pickup for family game night. Taking a look here, Kirby DLC for Mario Kart World 2. You will not hear, like, I don't even, until they give us some kind of a roadmap for Mario Kart World, it's nothing but pure speculation at this point. Like, everybody assumed Donkey Kong was going to have DLC because of Pauline and Donkey Kong only having one outfit each, and we saw nothing. That being said, if Switch Force is correct, and this mainline direct is happening sooner than later, maybe we will see something for Mario Kart. And I hope we do. I hope and I think what Nintendo is doing, they crushed the launch with the bundle. They're going to crush the holidays with the bundle. And it's the perfect time for them to get back in the news cycle and get buzz going around Mario Kart with DLC later in the year. So I'm fairly confident that we will see some kind of DLC announcement, but what it's going to be, I have no idea. And honestly, I feel like they may have set Mario Kart World up to have like when they're, according to their roadmap, pure speculation, that like launch window, we're going to offer these modes. And then after the 2, 3 month, 4 month mark, we're going to open up 200cc. We're going to add some other modes. They do have that tournament coming in October, I believe. So maybe before that, we see some of these updates coming out and we get some kind of news around it. But I do think we have something before the end of the year just to continue to build hype and get more people on the in the Switch 2 family with some more Mario Kart World hype by selling those bundles, knowing there's also going to be more content maybe tied to your NSO account, maybe free. It is an $80 game. I think free would do well for the community. So we'll just have to wait and see. Nate says, honestly, Air Riders looks like it could be a Switch 1 game. Looks like Smash assets. There are elements, like I said, some of these levels look like they would not run smoothly on Switch 1. Like they were made a little later, potentially. And then others look like it's almost like that Mario Kart 8 Wave 1, where there's like, why are there so few textures? And then other tracks are like, this is kind of mind-blowing, a little bit strange. NES Gaming Legend said, hey dude, what the heck? No Metroid at PAX. I know. We're gonna get into it. You guys, there's so many chats. This is amazing. Player One says, if a friend had this game, I'd definitely try it out. Just don't think I'd spend my own money on it. I get it. And vote with your wallet. Get what you want. You don't have to get every game just because it comes out, right? Like, get what you're gonna. I am completely guilty of doing the opposite of that and just buying stuff to put it on my shelf. I like collecting first-party Nintendo. I'm only missing a handful of games from the Switch 1. So, but if you're not going to play it and you don't care to collect it, pass on it. Wait for a sale. That's the one thing. Nintendo does seem to be doing more first-party sales, at least with Switch 1 titles. I have been noticing they've had 2 within the last couple months. I've seen games like Mario Maker and Mario Golf and some of their first-party games that don't go on sale often are getting some sales. Let's see. Ronan says there's so much negativity towards Switch 2 and Nintendo, we might see the last Nintendo generations. Would you agree? No. What you see online versus what is actually happening, entirely two different things. The negativity means nothing. The vocal minority, if you want proof about the vocal minority, just look at how the Switch 2 has been selling. They're doing just fine. They're setting records. One of the things that's very interesting, I was listening to Nintendo voice chat. Nintendo's done something like 3 billion in sales in a quarter or within the fiscal year. I don't know the exact numbers. I don't have them in front of me. But only seeing a 21% increase in profit from that. And I think a lot of that has to do with the sales, the cost to get the Switch 2 made. I feel like the conversation was there's a lot of corporate greed and they're just trying to, and I think the Switch 2 is just expensive. At the end of the day, if their profit is not moving according to what their sales percentages are, it's the cost going into producing this stuff. So I'm not worried at all. Nintendo is literally setting records. They've got more cash than they've ever had, and they're going to be doing just fine. Even if the Switch 2 only does 3DS numbers, they're going to regroup, and I'm perfectly fine with a Nintendo on the ropes. Not that I think we'll see that anytime soon, but look what they did with Switch 1. If they get back on the ropes again, they'll knock it out of the park. I have no question. I think we're going to see big changes this year in gaming in general, or these next few years in development, in what to expect from games. I think this kind of game from Nintendo is something that we're going to see more of. This game probably did not have a super long dev cycle, and it's packed full of content. Are people going to play it for a super long time? I don't know. I hope so. But some of these games are getting so massive. And if you look at the industry, look at all the layoffs that happened recently. Look at the way so many of these AAA games just went away. They went away. And I look to the thing like Super Mario Wonder, Metroid Dread, some of these games that probably don't have nearly as long of a dev cycle, but are still incredible and still worth their full price. That's really the balance in my mind, is finding that sweet spot of making the game worth what we're paying for it without having these 10-year, 8-year dev cycles. Like it's just an interesting time. But I'm not worried in the slightest about Nintendo. I think they're doing just fine. Just fine. So I can't even keep up with all you guys. This is amazing. Thank you guys for all the comments. I want to talk Metroid because it's at Gamescom on the show floor, but it's not going to be at PAX. And I don't know if it wasn't shown. I don't even know if there was Nintendo experiences happening in Germany. Maybe that's why Metroid Prime 4 was on the show floor there, but not here in the States, because we already had the experience. They are showing a lot of third-party and indie stuff. If Pokemon and Kirby were not on the list, it would be nothing but third parties. You got Elden Ring, Final Fantasy, Silk Song, Borderlands, that are going to be playable on the show floor. It's super cool. It's super cool. But Pokemon and Kirby and Silk Song are the only titles that haven't been out before. And then Borderlands, of course. But Borderlands we are getting a month later. It's going to be interesting to see what that does to sales. If people are going to want to wait to pick it up on their Switch 2, if they have another option to play it, we'll just have to see. And I know that's not I know that's not what anybody wants to see when it comes to releasing these games, but we're early in the Switch's life cycle. We're super early. Super, super early. So I think this kind of stuff will change as we get deeper into the Switch 2's life cycle. It's early. It's super early. And I saw a list of the games that came to Switch 1 versus the games that are already on Switch 2. And there are a lot of remakes and ports on Switch 1 that came over from the Wii U. And we are seeing remakes on the Switch 2, or just we're seeing games ported over like Cyberpunk and Street Fighter 6, older games, but it's still a pretty impressive library. And having those games like on the go, like when I get on the plane to fly to PAX, and it's like I can literally play Street Fighter or Madden or Mario Kart. Like, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy, and I'm super stoked for my flight. Honestly, I'm gonna spend I spent a lot of time racing on my last flight with Mario Kart World. So let's talk Metroid. Let's talk release date. I think Retro hit a snag. I talked about it last night a little bit. I think Metroid hit a snag. Some kind of bug. Something's going on. Something's not. Is it Switch 1 related? Are they trying to get the DLSS? Like, maybe they're really trying to get this game to cook on Switch 2. And that's taking a little bit extra time. As much as I want that game right now, I would much rather have a finished product. That's been said time and time again on countless podcasts. I'll be patient. It's not like we don't have a huge backlog. I think a date would be nice because it would just give us the, like, okay, I know how much longer I have to wait. That's what I think a lot of people are frustrated about. They're like, we just want to know when. But the fact that we're not getting a when, the fact that Metroid Prime 4 Beyond was shown at the Treehouse, which is, it was in a direct and then shown at Treehouse. That to me is an indicator that they thought everything was working as planned, and then something happened. some game breaking bug. Somebody discovered some lines of code that every time they squash a bug, 4 more appear. Like the little bit of time that I did spend in working in games, that's how it goes. Like you squash one bug to end up finding 10 more, and you just sometimes you're just chasing your tail, and it can be frustrating. I assume it's polish, but I don't know. Cryptic says when you think about Metroid, it's the only game that supports mouse controls, had HDR for 120, 4K 60, and I'm thinking that's the issue. Maybe they're finding out something is unstable and optimizing the Switch 1 port isn't ideal. Nadine says, when messaging strikes again. And I don't know if like Nintendo has has egg on their face, or if it's just the nature of the beast. It's not like we don't have games to play, but I think we are seeing a relatively niche group of like hardcore Metroid fans that are like, we're ready for this thing now. They've been ready since they've got the first announcement 8 years ago. And now this basically a tease. And then it made it even worse when they made that mistake on that artwork in the subway. That thing said out now, giving everybody hope that game was like on the cusp. And it was probably a Photoshop error. They just forgot to hide that layer. And it's a huge bummer. So it's like having your emotions being played with all the time when it comes to being a Metroid fan. But it's just game development. And Nintendo does not want any bad press on Metroid. You can tell they're going to wait as long as they need to, as frustrating as it is, to get that game out so that the majority of the conversations around Metroid Prime 4 are positive. That's what they are that's what they are looking for. Jack says, "Hey, I just want to ask, what did you think of Joey Ferris saying that he was not going to watch the Kirby Air Riders Direct out of pure spite?" I laughed. I just laughed. I mean, I don't ever take people seriously online. I don't really know Joey all that well. I know that if you need some comedy gold, just go and click on that tweet and look at all of the quote tweets, because he got fried in those, and some of them are quite comical. But again, I look at it all as just like, it's not that serious. None of this stuff is that serious. Like, we get to sit and hang out and talk about Nintendo games. That's awesome. Like, that's amazing. So I'm just like that, whatever. I understand. Maybe it was just like in the moment frustration, but I assumed it was not real and just being silly. I did go through a few of the replies. I don't know. He may have been crashing out. He may have been crashing out, and that's what happens. That happens from time to time. If Mario Kart World hadn't come out, who knows? Maybe I would have been crashing out about and saying I'm not watching Kirby until Mario Kart's released. I got my main game. I'm happy. I am happy. Cryptic says, also, if Nintendo just came out and said it's being delayed and had an HD port of Metroid Prime 2 or a bundle of 3, I think fans would accept the wait. And I agree, but that also takes time. And the company that did Prime 1 remastered, from my understanding, laid off people and wasn't getting work, so I don't think they were working on Prime 2 and 3. Prime 2 probably coming to NSO. Maybe they could hold people over with that. I don't want this to be the case. I am with you, Cryptic, and I would love to see a remake of 2 and 3 with mouse controls for people that like it. I would love to see an upgrade for Metroid Prime 1 remastered, add the mouse controls, give us the Switch 2 treatment on that. It would be amazing. But we're not seeing it. I thought today for sure that we would see a try Kirby Air Ride now on NSO. But they have Chibi Robo coming out in like a day or two? So that's kind of in that spot. It doesn't make sense to me to release Chibi Robo when you could use NSO to market your new game. You'd have people streaming it, putting videos out on YouTube. You'd have a community that, like, once they found out that it was back there, it may not be a huge system seller, but there's an audience that loved that first game, and you can just tell based on how excited they were. Like, I saw people saying like their dream came true with a sequel for Kirby Air Ride, and I'm like, that's awesome. Like, that makes me happy when other people are that happy about this stuff. That's incredible. Because I know I love that feeling when I saw Mario Kart World. You know, it's super cool. Joey says, tell those Metroid fans I had to wait 25 years between 3D DK games. 8 years is minimal. Jack says, I just wanted to ask, do you think that if they release Kirby Air Ride on GameCube NSO, it would cannibalize Kirby Air Riders, even though it's two separate types of releases, NSO title and full game? No, like I just said, I think it would help market it. Because in some cases, you go back to a game that you have such nostalgia for, and your nostalgia blinders also come along with what was going on at that time in your life. Games were different. There wasn't nearly as much of an attention grab. So you could play games that, like, maybe weren't absolutely top notch, but still have a really good time with them. And then when you go back to them, you're like, yo, I don't want to play this again. I want to keep those memories the way they were. So I don't know if that is completely the case with Kirby Air Ride, but it could potentially be. And I think when they finally get their hands on something new and they've been into that game, they're looking forward to that game, I think this is going to scratch that itch for them. Joey Pitt says, okay, I'm actually excited to try Chibi Robo. Yeah, I've never played one of those games. Nate says turtles in a half shell. Did I say something? You'll have to elaborate on that. Justin says, got 3 months till Air Riders, though. Could still release the original on NSO in September or October, potentially. No question. Yeah, I just feel like it would have had such an impact today if they already have it ready to go, just to be like, hey, jump in and try the first game from 20 plus years ago. So, Yummy Wums said these graphics suck. Just no chill. Army Life, what's going on? Welcome to the stream. Jack says, I think I asked because I don't understand why Nintendo can't release, let's say, Double Dash on NSO and Mario Kart World is coming out hypothetically, since it's two separate game types of releases. It's one of those things that, like, I don't know that a 20-year-old game will cannibalize a brand new game. At this point, I think they could release Double Dash. I think it would only just add to the overall value prop for NSO. Having it be, because the GameCube NSO came out literally the same time Mario Kart World, I get not having Double Dash then and there. But it's been 2 months now. I think we could see it coming sooner than later. Oh, Nate said, sorry, just a continuation from Discord. I got to give a shout out to Mickey. I think it's Mickey the Wizard. Left an amazing review on Communication Error, where he was like, give him 5 stars, but then was like, yo, we just have to Netflix and chill. I was dead. It was so good. So good. Cryptic says, also, can Sakurai rest Nintendo? He said he is tired at the beginning of the Direct. He really did. He did. He said he was looking. I mean, even he looked a little bit rough. He looked like he needed a long vacation. But then you can see him on screen right now. The moment he starts playing, it's just like pure joy. Like he's having a good time with this. He's also a very serious gamer. I love that. Justin said, I thought the game looked kind of awesome visually, to be honest. The race he showed off in the water track looked great, way beyond what Switch 1 could do. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit ago, too. Like, this game looks like certain aspects of it would run on Switch 1, no problem. And then they show some of the levels, and you're like, there's no way. There's so many particle effects and waterfalls and all this cool stuff happening that it wouldn't hit the right here, the level he almost that he was on a second ago that said single race, that level is gorgeous. The lighting, everything else. So Yummy Wum Wum says yes, but have you seen Kirby and the Forgotten Land? Game looks gorgeous compared to this. It I mean, I am excited to see Kirby and the Forgotten Lands, especially on Switch 2, that 4K 60 upgrade. And yeah, it is gorgeous. The character models and some of like well, they're not carts, but what are they? Like I can't remember. There was a specific name for them. I do feel like they could have used a little bit of love, and maybe these are still early builds. Maybe it gets a little more polish. I think that could be. I think that could be the case. Joey says, I feel like the graphics in the style for Kirby, cartoonish. A real life looking Kirby would be a horror show. Yes, it would. Yes, it would. Cryptic said also, where is the Kirby Air Ride amiibo? Yo, there's so many Kirby amiibo, they're gonna just re-release that line. I think he's sitting on a star anyway, so it would look like the amiibo for this game. Okay, let's see. This is my favorite question of the night. Is it true the next PS6 will be hybrid? If that's true, it's definitely game over for Nintendo. I mean, Sony should focus so much more on releasing games than hardware at this point because they've been slacking in that department. I think they have some amazing games. They just need to stop remaking everything. I made a joke about Gears of War coming to PlayStation 5 because it's like the third time they've remade the first one, so they know that PlayStation fans are primed for picking up remakes, so it'll do very well over there on the PlayStation side of things. Justin said there's also YouTube compression of videos, and if you're viewing the videos, say on your phone, you're certainly not viewing in 4K. Yeah, no question there. And I do have this. This one is running 4K on my end on my 1440p monitor, and I think what it kind of boils down to, I don't know that the character models are necessarily bad. I think just a bit more lighting and a bit more life on some of their the carts that they're riding or the gliders that they're riding. Like I feel like maybe they could just use a bit more detail, and that would kind of push it over the edge. So, Cryptic says also, if Helldivers comes to Nintendo, ODST goes to Xbox. How sick would Samus for? Oh, it'd be amazing, but good luck. Good luck on that one. It would be nice, but we know from the Fortnite court case with Apple, Nintendo was not having not having it, unfortunately. And Yum Yum says it's not a resolution matter. It's more about the textures and shaders and overall detail that looks very mid. Yeah, and I think like certain tracks, definitely the case, and then other tracks, like I said, look amazing. And again, we could be looking at somewhat of a early build, doesn't have like all of the polish yet. Maybe it's close. I didn't see if there was a disclaimer anywhere at the beginning. Maybe they, you know, a lot of times we'll see that when it comes to this kind of thing, like early build or whatever. I didn't pick up on that. Maybe it's there, maybe it's not. But you have to remember too, this was more than likely a game that was going to be coming to Switch 1 that then that moved over to Switch 2. And you can almost see it, like I've said, in some of the levels. So James Jones says, you still having fun with Madden? I've been playing the heck out of it in my log truck. Yes, still having a blast, actually. Just started my season against the computer, and it's been great. Cryptic says, Kirby looks like an online party game with City Trial. 1000%. Time trials, probably going to be a thing in Kirby. Could make it fun. Could make it very fun. Yummy says that's true. They could do a lot in 3 months. Yeah, there could just be polish that happens just to really utilize the power of the Switch 2. Also 3 laps. Yep. Nady Nace is another game you can play with your feet. I mean, it's got auto acceleration, so technically, I think where this game is going to shine, like I said early on, it's going to shine if the multiplayer really takes off and the community enjoys it, and we can get that dopamine hit and the gameplay loop is there. That is going to be what really sends this game. It really helps the sales. If the gameplay loop of multiplayer is just not that good, it could be a flash in the pan. And so oh no. This person's name is Astrobot has won Game of the Year. Mario hasn't. He says you can trash PS5 all you want, but PS5 so far has sold 80 million. Let's see if Switch 2. Yo, I celebrate PlayStation selling. Like I'm like I only kid when it comes to this stuff because I know how to push buttons. I hope PlayStation does incredible. I hope Xbox does incredible. And I hope Nintendo does incredible. In fact, I wish they were all doing better so that they would all have to compete a bit harder. You know what I mean? So, like, I'm here for it. I'm not, and I'm also not here to change your mind and turn you into a Nintendo fan. Like, if you got fun on your PlayStation 5, like keep having fun, have fun playing Xbox games over there. Since it's all you got. I'm just kidding. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here live. I love you all. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your night. And here's to Kirby doing amazing. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed on that one. Remember, guys, as always, play it loud.